What I'm going to do today is basically a part 2 video on my load development and accuracy testing of my Marlin 336. So I brought 12 rounds with me this time. If you saw in part 1, I ran out right as I got it sighted in at 50 yards. So I'm going to do one grouping at 50, hopefully a couple at 100, and we'll see how it groups. Got this 4-power, really cheap Bushnell Sportview scope. So I have a feeling at 100 yards, the limitation, if this gun is shooting, will be me with this scope, since I haven't practiced much with it at such low magnification. So we'll see how we do. I won't show as much shooting this time, but I'll show you a couple rounds of me shooting, and then we'll go to the targets. Alright, let's go through the accuracy of this Marlin in the second part video. I showed a couple range sessions, me shooting the gun, not as many in this video because it's just me shooting. It'll get boring, but let's get to the accuracy results. Just so you know, I'm not shooting factory ammo out of this 1976 Marlin 336. What I have are hand loads. And I've just started hand loading within the last year, and I do it on the cheap. So I might not even have the magic formula that this gun likes, but it's shooting good enough for me now. So what I basically am using are these Sierra Pro Hunter 150 grain round nose bullets. And I like these a lot. One of the reasons is I also use them in my 30-06s with incredible accuracy. I just have to slow them down because the 30-06 moves too fast at its full speeds for this bullet designed for the 30-30. But what this gets me is a bullet for my 30-06 and 30-30s that's giving me good accuracy. And then I just take brass I find at the range. I don't have special, what do they call that, to clean them. The things like the sifter things that gets the brass all shiny. I clean this like I do my muzzle loaders. I put them in a bucket, hot water, soap, formula, shake them around, mix them, and clean them. So not the best way, but it gives me the end result of the bullets I'm using. This is what they look like. So let's get to the accuracy. Alright, you're going to see a number of different targets varying from 50 to 100 yards and also varying different loads. So I ended up not going with the load that I used in video 1. I'll explain why. This is the load from video 1. It was near max powder charge. And this is my first cold bore shot, and you're going to notice in targets, I don't really actually think it's a cold bore. It's a very clean barrel. And after the barrel gets fouled with a shot or two, the point of impact changes. So I need to remember that, and actually that first shot I don't want to hunt with a clean barrel. So here's my accuracy, not too bad, kind of similar to the first video. I liked it at 50 yards. That load I went to 100 yards. You can see it's spread. This looks good. What I didn't like was as I was shooting, I wasn't feeling myself pulling in these extreme directions. So I looked up online a little bit. This is about a 3¼ inch group. I measured my groups here. So this farthest point, a little over 3¼ Wasn't real happy with that. And I knew some of it's me. I have a very cheap Bushnell 4-power scope with thick crosshairs. So any little movement is really moving my reticle. Any little flinch or breathing is moving me in directions as well. Just because it's not very magnified. So if you notice in the first video, I also had a round that was very hard to extract or open the lever. And I've never had that with this gun. So I'm thinking I was getting near the top of the charge that I wanted to use. So what I did is I backed off my powder charge. That took me to 50 yards again. Here we go at 50 yards. Again, the first shot out of a brand new or a cleaned barrel. Low. My next 2 shots at 50 yards look good. Again at 50 yards, looked good. I didn't measure these groups, they're touching. So again, clean barrel, fouled barrel. It started to find its way. So with this slightly reduced load, I then went to 100 yards. Here's my 100-yard group. I was shooting 5-shot groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at 100 yards, just so to give you an idea. It shows more of my error, I think, not the gun's error in some of these strings of the groups. If you measure here, we're about 1¾ inch group. Throw in this, and we're at about 2 3/8. So that I was pleased with that. It felt much more consistent than that higher grain charge, where I can see some of these being my fault as I would flinch a hair or my breathing or anything as a crosshair would move. So at 100 yards, I felt like I was getting somewhere, and I like this load. So I went out again, 100 yards, and here, way down here, is again, a little hole in the tape, is that very first clean barrel. So now, I started to again see I was getting some groupings that were somewhat decent. These 3 shots are right at 1.5 inches. I pulled a flyer. Total, I'm at just under 2 3/8 grouping right there. So you get an idea. I mean, there's my hand or my fist. So, not too bad. I knew I could do better, especially getting flyers. So I had 5 more rounds, same load with this reduced charge, and that was much better. Okay, I tried to really focus on not flinching. And there I have 1, 2, 3, 4 shots, and they are all within 1.125 inches. And there's my finger, but this camera's so close it doesn't quite give you a great idea. Shoot, I showed it. Now, I had another flyer. So, total, I'm about just under 3 3/4. But these flyers that I'm showing, I don't blame that on the gun. I don't want you to get a misperception that this gun isn't now shooting accurate, because that's just my error. Because what I'm experiencing is, I want to make a correction to my first accuracy video where I said, these lever actions can give you the accuracy of a bolt action. If this had a 9-power scope like my bolt actions, I think I could tighten this up. And it's already at 1 1/8. So yes, it's giving me good accuracy. But on my bolt actions, I don't get flyers nearly as often like this. And a lot of that is because, for one, the 4-power scope isn't nearly as magnified for me to see where I'm aiming. And I could put a higher power scope on the gun, but I don't like that on lever action. I had it before. It takes away to me the bulkiness of even a 3 to 8. It feels bulky when a lever action defeats the purpose of using the hunting with a lever action. You want them quick and light. And the trigger. This trigger has no creep, has a great break, but it's very heavy. And that, I think, is a lot of the reasons I'm pulling a shot out of a 5-shot group, is that trigger is a bear to work with. Fine for hunting, but for precision shooting, the bolt actions that I own are easier to shoot, more accurate. I've got triggers on them that are around 3 pounds, some a hair under. And they just seem like they're just easier to shoot more accurately. But here's the end result. I'm happy with my 100-yard groupings. I'm going to stick with this charge for my reload. If that baby's going to keep giving me, in that, inch and a half, inch and 3/4 to actually under an inch group, I'm happy with it. So I hope you enjoyed. Again, hopefully I'm proving that, if you want to hunt, lever action's perfect. I wouldn't call it a precision target shooting like a bolt action, but for just hunting purpose, don't dismiss the lever action. Thanks again for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, or subscribe.